Let's talk about Josh Allen and how I feel about him. We'll do it in a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for joining me here on Locked On Jaguars. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where it's your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen. I'm going to remind you that we're also free on all platforms. Wherever you get your podcast, you can like and subscribe, and we are there for free. Even if you don't like and subscribe, we are there for free. That's right. Your podcasts are free. You don't have to pay for it. Just make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube page. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM and managing your football franchise? If so, then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. Our listeners get a 100% free bonus or boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On, one word, all caps, in the game. Any new people, welcome to the show. As I always say, just kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Go in there and make your sandwich. You're at home. You don't have to ask permission to do anything. Once you come in, you're part of the Locked On Jaguars family. All right, I'm going to get to this topic because I have to. And I'm going to just say I'm being petty today because there are lots of people that do stuff and go, anybody trying to trade Josh Allen, I don't understand. I see you. I hear you. So if you want to understand, just listen. You don't have to throw subliminal shots. You don't have to, act like you're talking to me and then act like you're not, and then hit me up and tell me how much you like my show. Doesn't mean you have to agree with me about everything, but let's not play subliminal games. If you want to play games, then I am Richard Dawson, Steve Harvey, and everybody else rolled up into one. I'll play the game, but I'm going to be the MC, all right? So any fans or anybody else that make the little sarcastic remarks, who's trying to trade Josh Allen? One, nobody's trying to trade Josh Allen. Two, I don't have the power to trade anybody. But three, I'm going to give you what you're asking for. If this is what you want to do, fine. Just listen and educate yourselves. And if you're a podcaster, I'm going to show you how it's done to talk about something in a nuanced way, too, without having to sling subliminal shot. I don't subliminally talk about anybody else that does this. All right? But see, it gets back to me because I don't go looking for it. And anytime I say something, it's the explanation is right in the very same podcast you heard me say it, but you act like you don't want to hear it. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through it today, and I'm going to go through it real slow about Josh Allen, the Jacksonville Jaguars edge rusher. Josh Allen is a very good player. Josh Allen is an extremely, from everything that I've heard, maybe even a better teammate than he is a player. From what I've heard, he's probably a better human being, husband, and father than he is anything that I've just mentioned. And he's the type of guy you want in your organization. There, you got it? So just so we're clear, everyone understands how I feel about Josh Allen. Here's how I don't feel about Josh Allen. That he is your Nick Bosa pass rusher, that he is worth $100 million potentially, that he is as good as someone, let's just say Brian Burns. No, he is not. That there are teams around the league that have these alpha pass rushers, and I don't think he's one of them. Has nothing to do with whether or not he's good. Has nothing to do with whether or not he's not a good person to have on your locker room or in your locker room. Has nothing to do with any of that stuff. I think Jawan Taylor is a better right tackle than Josh Allen is an edge rusher. but nobody wants to stop from trading or letting Juwan Taylor just walk in free agency. So I guess the answer to that is, well, we don't have a Walker Little behind Josh Allen. Walker Little ain't as good as you think he is either. There, I said it. And that ain't a slap against Walker Little. It's just that if this team is going to ever advance and start playing for championships, we got to stop with thinking that just because we're familiar with people and because they've been decent players, that they're good enough to get us to where we're trying to go to. I understand how hard it is to replace or find edge rushers. It's hard enough to find good edge rushers, but you want to get rid of one. Yeah, I understand how hard it is to find a premium edge rusher. I also understand that it's still hard for Jaguars to find a premium edge rusher because they don't have one. And I don't want to pay one like he is one. How hard is that? Now, since we want to act like we don't know what I'm talking about, how hard is that for you to understand? And understand where this comes from. This comes from a place of wanting the best for the fans, not me wanting to be right, not me wanting to sound like a GM, not me wanting to be put on a pedestal for what I'm saying. In fact, I knew the day and the moment when I decided to do this podcast, there was a certain group of people that's going to sit around in their little Volkswagen of familiarity and going to sit there and point the finger and criticize me. I know that's coming. I don't do this for y'all. I don't do this so you don't say anything. I do it because what I'm trying to tell you is the right thing to do, it based on my opinion, not because of somebody else. You want to hear that? Go listen to somebody else's podcast. This ain't the one for you. I'm dead serious. See, I know everybody's getting like, oh, Wig, what's wrong with you? You wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Nah, 2022 is over. That 7-8 game run and that playoff run, that's over. I'm glad that's still in y'all mind. But I'm trying to move further. I want to go further than that. I don't want that just for Jacksonville. There's no consolation just because all of a sudden the Jaguars are relevant. No, I want you to win a championship. And I don't want y'all paying. I don't want them to go paying. It ain't my money. But all I'm telling you is this. If they pay $100 million for a guy like that, you're not leaving room. It doesn't mean that you can't find another pass rusher. What it means is you're not leaving yourself room to give $100 million to somebody who might deserve it. And you're also not leaving room because once you commit to him that kind of money, you're also making that kind of commitment from a snap perspective. And I'm going to tell you right now, they know damn well over there that if they pay him $100 million, they're not going to get a return on their investment. And you should know it too. The same way the Denver Broncos knew about Stubb, the kid that they traded to Miami, Chubb. Chubb had 26 sacks in 5 years. You think they're giving him $100 million? No. This guy Josh Allen has 27 sacks in 4 years. Don't you think they've seen by now whether or not he's the alpha pass rusher you think he is? When a kid last year in Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa got 18 and a half, and I actually had somebody want to argue with me that Josh Allen is as good as Nick Bosa. Are you serious? This ain't got nothing to do with all that personal stuff that I keep telling y'all about. Do you want to get better or don't you? Straight up. And they might be running out of time in order to move him and get something for him. The more years he still has on his contract, the better. But now all he has is a 50 option. It's still a low number. But ain't nobody going to give you nothing for him after he's exhausted his contract just for the rights to him. No, they ain't doing that. You got to at least let them have him at a lower price first. Will they, if they get rid of Josh Allen, will they be a worse team for a minute until they replace him? If the Kansas City Chiefs can trade Tyreek Hill, who's one of the 5 best receivers in the league and one of the most explosive players in history, and still be good enough to win a title, and in fact, be better than they were last year, don't tell me that Josh Allen is untouchable. So I'm not telling you that you need to trade him, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a couple of scenarios, and I've already used one of them, and that's Nick Chubb. And I'm going to explain to you why. Why would I do this? Why am I a proponent of it? since so many people have a hard time understanding. I mean, you would think people act like I'm trading Lawrence freaking Taylor. It amazes me. It absolutely amazes me. I'll tell you why it amazes me in just a second. Here on Locked On Jaguars, after I let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. You heard me talk about this mobile game app, and I can tell you how much fun it absolutely is. I was on a plane, man. I was on a plane. I've been on a couple of planes here lately, and I played the Ultimate Football GM, and I'm going to tell you, I look up and I'm in airplane mode, and the next thing I know, they're telling me, prepare, we're descending. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got to finish this game. I'm sitting there trying to finish a couple of critical things, and my wife is telling me, get up, we got to go, get off the plane. If you want to know how it is to hire the right coaches and coordinators, trade places, navigate your franchise through free agency and the draft, it's all right here at Ultimate Football GM. Our show listeners here at Locked On Jaguars get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in all caps in the game store. That's Locked On in all caps. So make sure to check it out today. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up in the App Store. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today. So to make it clear, here on Locked On Jaguars, this isn't bash Josh Allen day. This isn't bash people who disagree with you day. This is just to let the subliminalists know, the next time you speak of me or hint at me, at least give the complete talking points as to what I'm saying. Because here's what happens, right? Old Wig will say something, right? Old Wig will say something, and it'll be simply just this ridiculous thought, right? And this has happened before. In fact, it's happened several times, so I'm going to tell you how it works. Old Wig will say something, and it'll go, and it'll be on the all up in somebody's mouthpiece without mentioning my name, but they'll subliminally keep saying, I don't know what people are thinking when they're, yeah, you do. You know exactly. If you do this for a living, you know exactly what I'm thinking and what I'm saying. But say what you want to your little fans. I don't care. But here's the thing. And then the team will actually do it. And then you'll hear, I didn't agree with it, but here's the reasons why. So now all the reasons why you couldn't find, or they couldn't find, at why I even made a mere suggestion that it's a possibility. Now that the team does it, now they come out with all of this rationale and these reasons, the same ones that I, in the past, have given you for months. So if you hear somebody say, I disagree with it, that's fine. But if you hear someone say, I don't know what somebody's thinking when they think that, they are lying through the end. They're lying from one side of their neck to the other. The other thing is this. Well, if you don't know why it would happen, tell that same person that you listen to all the time when it does happen, I thought you didn't have no answers. You see, this is content creation, but it's not clickbait and it's not shock jock stuff. This is real. I just gave you a real live example of what teams think about. Denver, up against it with the salary cap. You don't think they should get rid of good players, do you? Think Bradley Chubb's pretty good? Well, they traded him. Why do you think they traded him? It's because they don't think he's good enough to pay what he's going to get, and which is what Miami gave him. If y'all want to give him $100 million for what he's done, let me tell you how this burns me up. Yannick Ngakoue wasn't worth another $4 million in guarantees when he was offered a 4-year, $72 million deal. He wasn't worth another, to take his guarantee from $48 to $52 million. He wasn't worth that, according to the franchise. He took a pay cut to leave here. He subsequently made $44 million since he took that pay cut. Which is not the 52 that he wanted. He gave away 4. So he would have made 48, the same 48 that he turned down. He won't be here. And y'all argued up and down that he wasn't worth it. But y'all say you don't want no edge rusher to be a good run stuffer like Trayvon Walker. You want your edge rusher to get sacks. But when it was time to pay Yannick, he can't stop the run. All he does is get sacks and hit the quarterback and cause loose balls. Which one is it? Which one is it? Because you say, well, Josh Allen led the league and he was the top 3 in the league in hurries. How many of those hurries ended up in incompletions? Did your analytics tell you that? No. So when we say we got to keep it simple and fans only want sacks, how about Yannick Ngakoue, since he came into the league, is top 5 in sacks? Top 5 in quarterback hits. Top 5 in turnovers caused by those quarterback hits. But he didn't want to pay him. It's because somebody told you you can't pay him. And just like a lot of people listening, somebody's telling you you can't trade a guy like Josh Allen, who's super nice, says he wants to be here, does all the right things, says all the right things, does everything except earn $100 million. But pay him the $100 million because you're comfortable, he makes you feel better. So what would we do without him? I don't know what they're going to do without him. I don't know if they're going to draft a guy just as good as him. I don't know if they're going to find a guy in free agency as good as him. But what I do know is this. If they keep him and pay him $100 million, he ain't going to never be the 15-sack guy y'all think he is. So I don't know about the unknown. I know about what I know. And what I know and what you know, if you stop being blind and you look for the things that you've always looked for when it comes to players, you tell me, is he worth $100 million or not? And if you can honestly answer this question, yes, without mentioning a whole bunch of non-football stuff, then I'll bow down to you. But you can't, and you won't be able to. It's because he's not. He's a good player to have on your team as long as he's on a rookie deal. He's an even better player to have on your team as a second pass rusher if he will allow you to pay him that way. You honestly think he's going to do that? Do you honestly think he's going to do that? No. Well, Trayvon ain't ready. Whether Trayvon's ready or not, is he worth it? That's what I keep trying to tell everybody. You have to fragment this stuff. You honestly do. And there are people in that building that believe exactly what I'm saying because it's the mantra that they live by. They can't be emotional. I'll talk about it more here. Segment number 3 on Locked On. We rolling along here. We thank you for making us your first listen on Locked On Jaguars. Got a little bit of a heater today. They call me Petty Pendergrass. That's right. Because when you talk about me, whether you mention my name or not, or you bring little things up, and you want to play dumb and act like you don't know what I'm talking about. I've talked to former players. I talked to former scouts who are still coaching. I've talked to former front office people. And I've asked this question. I've even talked to some other media members that I trust. Is Josh Allen worth a 4-year, $90 million contract? The answer is no. The answer is absolutely no. He's not. But he's a good guy, and they might pay him anyway to keep him around. The Steelers didn't pay Bud Dupree, and Bud Dupree, I can look up Bud Dupree's numbers his first few years in the league and tell you what his numbers were. Now, granted, he got an injury right as he was supposed to be a free agent, but they weren't going to pay him anyway. The Steelers weren't going to pay no Alvin Dupree all of that money. He just happens to be from same college, Kentucky. He also has 1 year of double-digit sacks, just like Josh. So he has 46.5 sacks in about 8 years. It's about where Josh Allen's going to end up being. And the Jaguars, if they pay him all of that money, they're going to see exactly what I'm talking. The Jaguars are looking for their TJ Watt. The Jaguars, with the way that they're trying to play, they're looking for that guy. Now, you can argue all day that if they drafted somebody else, that he would have been the dude by now. I don't necessarily think that they didn't draft the right player for how they're going to play. I think they could have made a misstep in thinking how long they were going to, how long it was going to take him to make Trayvon play the way that they want to play. You saw them all last year. They were still lining up different. They didn't move Darius Williams out at corner until very, very late in the season. If there's something that they have to improve on, it's knowing their people and their personnel and knowing the position that they need to be put in. If you're still moving people around and trying to figure things out, once you get into the regular season, and that might have cost them some games running Darius Williams on the inside. I'm not knocking them because they made the run. The fans got excited. Everybody's excited for the future. What I'm trying to do is make sure that this team stays on point and not get a bunch of passes just because of Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. They got a lot of work to do. When you watch the championships, I use the Cheetah as an example. Anybody thinking that they were going to get rid of Cheetah? Maybe that's why the Chiefs players were going all off about people not respecting them. Maybe people thought that when they got rid of Cheetah that they weren't going to be able to score as quickly anymore. And that would be understandable because I may have been one of those same people. But I was also smart enough to know that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Yeah, you can't replace him. And they didn't even try. They just said, okay, we got all of the resources that we wouldn't have had without him. How do we build this from this point? And they went and did it in a whole bunch of areas, and they fortified all of these spots, and they still got some draft capital left. And all of the draft hits from the last 3 years have been just standing there on that roster and putting out. So now they realize we're different, but we can still win. We may not be explosive, but we can still figure it out. And that's what other teams have to do too. Even when you're on the rise, you almost got to say, you know what? Under any circumstance, I don't care how close I am, I'm never going to pay somebody something that they're not worth. There's nothing wrong with you doing that. I am never going to pay someone something that they're not worth. I don't know how many poker players are out there, man, but it's like you sitting there with a 3-7 offsuit, knowing you need to fold, and somebody raises the blind, and you sit there like an idiot, and you see the flop, and you see a 2 and a 7. And now you got two pair of a hand that you should never play in the first place. And what ends up happening to people like that, if you're a poker player, you know exactly what ends up happening to them. One of those two or both of those two cards, the one that comes on the turn and the one that's on the river, will burn them like a hot iron. And when they flip that hand over, everybody will look at them and say, why'd you even play that? I know you hit after the first 3 cards, but guess what? If you hadn't played a bad hand, you wouldn't be in that position in the first place to get burnt. And here's my point. Josh Allen is not 2-7 offsuit, but he is 2 pair of a bad hand, in my opinion. He's good enough to think that you're good enough to win, and then those other 2 cards show up. Here's the card, AFC Championship game. There's one of them, and if you can make it past that one, Super Bowl. There's another one. If y'all don't believe how good you got to be on the edge, where was Hassan Reddick in the Super Bowl? Don't worry, I'll wait. If that was Von Miller, he would have got home. He would have made a difference on 1 or 2 of those plays. If that's Aaron Donald, he gets home. And you got to leave yourself room to get that guy. You can't overcommit to it when that's not who it is. Josh Allen might be Leonard Floyd, real good player. He might one day turn into Jerry Hughes, real good player. He ain't that guy, though. That guy that y'all think he is, he's not even that guy as a number 2, in my opinion. But if the Jaguars don't get ahead of it, they're going to lose him for nothing, or they're going to have to tag him, and then they're going to lose leverage, and they won't get the compensation that they should get from him. I'm sorry. And I'm trying to make sure that the Jaguars maximize their compensation because I believe we've seen maximum Josh Allen on the field. And while it's good, it ain't good enough and it's not what we're looking for. And that's okay. But it's the people that want to act like, I don't know what anybody's thinking about doing that. You're a liar. You know exactly what I'm thinking about when I'm saying it because teams do it all the time. The 49ers traded a Hall of Famer in Charles Haley to the Cowboys. Don't tell me you don't understand why people don't trade, why people ain't trading. I know it was a long ass time ago, but still, it's the same reason. And even though it's a little bit of them, that Chase Young ain't getting his 50 option because he's been banged up, right? It's the same reason the Dallas Cowboys let Randy Gregory walk last year. Everybody knows why they let him walk. They let him walk because they had other guys on the roster, but they knew they couldn't afford to keep him. They can't. And if you're the Jaguars, can you afford it? Sure, you can afford to keep him. Can you afford to retain him? Sure. But can you afford to retain him and leave room for the next guy? No, you cannot. You can't do it. I'm sorry. He only $10 million next year, Wig. All right, well, trade him, get a first or a second round pick for him. Take that $10 million and give a 1 year $10 million to Jadeveon Clowney. You think are you gonna actually lose in production? Not one bit. Not one bit. At all. And you might end up using your first rounder that you get, if it's an end of the first rounder, on another guy, whether it be BJ Ojolari or whoever, and while you can go out and spend some money and re-sign somebody, you can re-sign Arden Key and sign a veteran and then use your new compensation on getting another younger piece. Now you have hopefully a productive guy who's going to at some point get you 7.5 sacks a year, but he's going to do it under a rookie deal as opposed to you giving him $100 million. You take that money and use it somewhere else. I hope we have clarity and understanding today and we don't have to send any more sublime shots at anybody. I want y'all to really pay attention. That's why I suggest that you trade Josh Allen. And I'm going to end it with this. I'm going to tell you like this. Ask anybody who's credentialed, who's brave enough to tell you that somebody in that building has told them before that Josh Allen is not a number one pass rusher. It's true. I brace fans for what I think might be coming. Ask anybody who's been at a press conference or who's credentialed of whether or not you've heard somebody say, ain't nothing wrong with Trayvon. The other guy on the other side has to play better. Trayvon's getting doubled and chipped. Ask. It's true. I keep telling y'all stuff, but hey, you listen to who you want to listen to. And they say, I don't know what they're thinking. Yeah. If you listen to somebody that tells you that they don't know what they're thinking, that they don't know what somebody like me is thinking, then you need to find somebody else to listen to because whoever is saying that crap, they need to know, they know exactly what I'm thinking about. And they know they've heard it from other people. Well, maybe they haven't. Maybe they're not around there enough. Maybe not in the building. Maybe don't have the connections that I have in other people. But you ask anybody with a reputation and they'll tell you that somebody over there has told them that within the last 12 months. All right, but I'm going to tell y'all this. Come back tomorrow and we're going to have more fun. Just get tired of people running up to me, man, saying, this person said this or this person said that. You don't have to agree with it. I don't agree with everything that they do. You know that. Y'all know that. I don't agree with everything everyone said. But don't act like you don't understand the line of thinking. That's what the line of thinking is. So if it happens, don't be surprised. And if it doesn't happen, don't worry about it. Ain't no big deal. It was just a suggestion. It was just a suggestion. A suggestion on how we get better and actually deliver a Super Bowl to this city. That's all. You guys hang in there. Take care of each other. Until the next time here on Locked On Jaguars, I'm Tony Wiggins.